गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परं ब्रह्म तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः. We are in Panchadashi, chapter 13, verse number 39, and we are seeing how the example that was taken was that the effect pot being associated with Maya is illusory in nature. The substratum mud supporting the effect pot is the reality. And uh, in the mud, the potential of becoming the pot is there, isn't it? In the mud. And that potential, what is potentiality? Is it continuous? Sometimes it is manifest, sometimes it is unmanifest. Then what is real? Is potentiality, energy, is that the real thing, or the one who wields that potentiality, that is the real? So here that is being said, the potentiality is not real, but the mud in which the potentiality is dormant or can manifest is real. So the mud is real, but the potential in the mud to become a pot, that is not real. So the reality is real, but the potential in the reality to express as the creation, that potentiality which sometimes manifests as manifest creation, sometimes as unmanifest, that is not the reality. So what is take subjectively? Sometimes what is the manifest potentiality manifesting? Waking and dream. What is the unmanifest potentiality? Deep sleep. Do you have any control over it? It's happening, it's a phenomenon, it's going on. And where is it going on? In the mind. See? So come back to the original that you are, and don't get caught up in comings and goings, manifestation and unmanifestation. But most of the seekers, they are caught up in that only. Manifestation of energy, manifestation of transcendental experiences, mystic experiences, ecstasies, but that is not the reality. Not why only go into that. This whole thing is the manifestation alone at this moment, isn't it? The mud is the substratum, the water is the substratum, the gold is the substratum, and on it all the names and forms, they manifest and then they unmanifest. The manifestation and unmanifestation of the name and form is the phenomena. It is an expression of the potentiality in that particular thing, in that particular element, in that particular in that consciousness. Now coming to the 39th verse. Vagneshpadyam nama matram Vagneshpadyam nama matram Vikaro nasya satyata Vikaro nasya satyata Sparshadhi gunayukta tu Sparshadhi gunayukta tu Satya kevala mrittika Satya kevala mrittika. The modification of mud, that is the effect pot, is spoken of by merely using the names etc. But the reality supporting the pot is mud alone, that has qualities such as touch etc., which we have already seen. That for all purposes you are touching the mud, tasting the mud, feeling the mud, smelling the mud, but you are calling it a pot. Because where is your attention? Not on the mud. Your attention is on the form or the shape. Yes. And because our attention is on the form, we give it a name. But it is only a modification of the mud. When we look at the pot, we see the form and call it a pot. It is only a word uttered by the tongue, but has really no meaning. Calling a looking at the waters and calling it wave has got no meaning. And yet, for communication purposes, we do use that language, isn't it? But what happens to us? We get caught up in it. We get trapped in our own thinking. It is only a word uttered by the tongue, but really has no meaning because it is just a name. The thought has no reality. What has reality? What is the reality is the mud. The 5 qualities or sparsha etc. endowed in the mud are also in the pot. But that mud alone is the reality. So, what were the qualities of the mud? It is there in the space. That means you can hear the mud crackling. You can feel it. It can take a form. You can taste it and you can smell it. Are these 5 qualities available in the pot? Yes. Plus it has its own qualities. And what is that? Hardness, firmness, roundness, isn't it? Containing, containership. See, it is a beautiful thought. In scriptures it comes bhuti, sambhuti, asambhuti and vibhuti. They are the 4. Bhuti, sambhuti, asambhuti and vibhuti. Bhuti is creation. Okay, the word. Sambhuti is manifestation. Asambhuti is unmanifestation. How this world that we see here, touch, feel, taste, etc., 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 how has this? So one world we know of all the forms and all the positions, etc., etc., that is Vibhuti. Then there is Sambhuti, manifestation. And then there is Asambhuti, which is unmanifestation. How do we go from the world to understand the manifestation and the unmanifestation? What is Asambhuti? Unmanifestation. Out of unmanifestation came manifestation, Sambhuti. From Sambhuti came Bhuti, the objects that you possess. But how from these objects do we go to the reality? How it has come from the unmanifest? If someone says your source is unmanifest, meaning you mean not you, the consciousness, but the body. The pot was unmanifest before, the world was unmanifest before, then it became manifest. Creation was unmanifest before, now it has become manifest. This transition from unmanifestation to manifestation, we are not able to understand. How do I go from this manifest world straight away to the unmanifest? Very difficult, isn't it? Because mind does not allow you to think of nothing. It always comes up with something. And therefore, the interim step between the manifestation and unmanifestation, by taking, because manifestation means form, unmanifestation means no form. And divinity is beyond both. So how do we interact with the form, interact with the no form which we don't know to get to the reality. And for this, the, the vibhuti is given to us. In the 10th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, the Lord talks about the vibhuti yoga, specific manifestation. So he says that the transition to take, because we are caught up in the form, we cannot think or can't bring our mind to not be attached to any form, then how do we bring this about? By holding on to the, by contemplating on the, by meditating upon the vibhuti. See, sambhuti, asambhuti, in between is vibhuti. And what is this vibhuti? The specific manifestation of the divine. So among, what is the manifestation? The Himalayas. So he says, oh, because we don't know, see, even we are told, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha, these 5 qualities of space, air, fire, water, earth, they are available in tan matra form. Can we imagine tan matra without form? We only need mud in order to smell. We need a flower to smell. But we don't know how to contemplate on tan matra. Even in meditation, if we don't know, we'll bring the flower in our mind and we'll try to, and then we, oh, divine fragrance is coming. Some people do it and they get it. So from gross smell to unmanifest smell, from gross sound to unmanifest sound, from gross form to unmanifest form, in between is this vibhuti. And the Lord says, to get to, because Arjuna is asking, how do I experience a divinity? I understand everything now. I believe that, oh Lord, you are the reality. But how do I change my vision? Please tell me, where can I find you? I can find you in front of me, but you are saying that you are everything and everywhere in this creation. There is no place that you are not. But how do I find you everywhere? How do I find you everywhere? He says, please tell me in detail. So now he is going to tell. So among the Himalayas, among the mountains, I am the Himalayas. Among the rivers, I am the Ganga. And this way, 74 examples are taken. Among every jati, every species, he gives one example. Among the trees, I am the Ashwatha, and so on. So that is one way. Here why I brought that example is because we are talking about manifest and unmanifest. Here we are going straight beyond manifest and unmanifest. But if you feel that you need a step to launch yourself, then Vibhuti is the step. When the pot is lifted, one has lifted the mud alone. The name pot is only with reference to the spoken word and is only a symbol. It's only a symbol. Just like
when the Lord says that he is Himalaya amongst the thing, but isn't he in everything?
Yeah, but Arjuna is asking, you say that you are everything, you are the material cause of the whole creation, but I am not able to see you everywhere. I am seeing you in front of me, but I am not seeing you in the earth, I am not seeing you in the trees, I am not seeing you in other people. He is not seeing Krishna with Bhishmacharya, Dronacharya, Kripacharya, Duryodhana, Dushasana. He is not seeing in them. He is going to kill. And that's why his breakdown came. So Lord is saying, I am everywhere. But he is saying, I can't see you, I can only see you in front of me. How do I get the vision to see you everywhere?
Best among them.
Huh?
manifest one.
That is the first step. As a result of this transformation in his vision, he is totally convinced, Arjuna, he is totally having faith in the Lord. He knows that, oh Lord, only you know yourself. Swayameva Atmana Atmanam. Only you know yourself, nobody else can know. So, Lord, you present me the vision, how you are expressing in this creation. And when he goes through this mental training in the 10th chapter, in the 11th chapter, he says, what I have given you is only 74 examples, but there are, in the 10th chapter, he says, I will start now, but I'll give you only some of the examples. Otherwise, for lifetimes I can be talking and you will be listening. Lifetimes I can keep talking about my specific manifestations, because the jatis are so many. So, but Krishna says, but we have got a job to do. What is the job? The war. He says, I'll give you some examples instead of, I'll give you the essence of the whole thing. And after he gets the essence of the whole, how Lord is specifically, how he can train his vision to see the presence of the divine in the creation. See? And as a result, in the 11th chapter, Arjuna says, oh, this is good, this is fantastic, but I am very eager to see all your manifestations. How can I, because it will take, now he is saying that it's going to take lifetimes to see the manifestation, all the vibhutis. Is there no way that I can see all of them together? He's smart, no? Is there any way I can see? He wants the shortcut, but he has prepared himself. He gets so excited, he says, looking at your specific manifestation is not yes, I'm looking at Himalayas, but I want to know you, and I want to see how in one go you are manifesting yourself in the entire creation. Can you give me that vision? Can you give me that experience? Can you guide me towards that? He says, for that you will have to have a different eye. Then he gives him the eye of wisdom. And then the Virat Purusha in the 11th chapter is presented to him. See? So is the truth about various Mahatmas, so is the truth about the Lord when he manifests on the earth. The relationship between the manifest, unmanifest and the substratum is defined. व्यक्ता व्यक्ते तदाधार व्यक्ता व्यक्ते तदाधार इति त्रिष्वाद्ययोर्द्वयोः इति त्रिष्वाद्ययोर्द्वयोः पर्यायकालभेदेन तृतीयस्त्वनुगच्छति तृतीयस्त्वनुगच्छति. So what do we see when we say that the mud alone is the reality? Existence alone is the reality. And existence is undifferentiated in its nature. I exist, you exist, she exists, he exists, carpet exists, table exists, space, air, fire, water, earth exist. Everything is existing. Our attention is not on the existence, our attention is on the form. But that form cannot appear without the substratum of existence. So, here he says that of the three, manifest effect, unmanifest power and their substratum, the first two express alternatively, while the third is always present in either of them. Hmm? Cause, effect. Cause is the asambhuti, effect is the sambhuti. Hmm? Vyakta avyakta. Another word for this sambhuti asambhuti is vyakta avyakta. Avyakta is unmanifest. Vyakta, that which has expressed, that which has manifested. Avyakta, unexpressed. And expression and non-expression, manifestation and non-manifestation, both of these are coming and going on the substratum, and that's the third factor. Without it, nothing can happen. Of these three, the manifest potentiality, the unmanifest potentiality, and the substratum, that is the mud, which supports both the former two, the vyakta and the avyakta, the cause comes before the effect. Therefore, in the form of unmanifest potentiality, it is called avyakta, and when the same potentiality manifests as effect, it is called vyakta. So from vyakta, we don't have to just go to avyakta. In Vedanta, we don't go to avyakta. From vyakta, we straight away migrate to the substratum. Otherwise, if you focus on avyakta, it is like going into void. It is going into void. We are not going into void. See? Hari Om, Hari Om. The third, the substratum of the Maya Shakti, is present in both the manifest and the unmanifest. The substratum is present in and through the unmanifest as well as through the manifest. We are on verse 40, chapter 13. I am the substratum of the waking and dream states. Manifest, this is the manifest, this is the vyakta, and I am also the substratum of the deep sleep state, the unmanifest. I am present in the presence of the first two states and also in their absence, that is in the deep sleep state, which is called the causal body because it is unmanifest. This I is present in both, that is when the world is unmanifest and when it is manifest, and this is your experience on a daily basis. Deep sleep state is the causal state, dream and waking are the effect, are the manifest states. And I know both. Can they both express without me, without the I? No. See? From where did the waking and dream come? They came from the unmanifest, the deep sleep state. Look at these three states. This is the best meditation, contemplation you can ever do. Rather, because we get caught up in waking, in the sadhana, in the mystic experiences, in the this happened, that happened, this thing happened. Am I spiritually growing? What spiritually growing? Where? Where will you go after growing? Take the waking, take the dream, take the deep sleep and recognize, all you have to do is recognize that you have ever been the substratum of these three. These three have come and gone for your, from the time of birth till today. They have been coming and going. Remain aware of that, even while functioning through the waking plane. Remain aware that you are not supposed to, you will not get caught up in the waking world. And that is only possible when you look at all the three together. If you just look at the waking world, you will get caught up. In the back of your mind, as much unimportant, not unimportant, I shouldn't use that word, as much ephemeral The state of deep sleep and dream is that much unimportant is the state of waking. But we have put all our eggs in the basket of waking, achieving, thinking that, oh my God, dreamer doesn't say all this. He wakes up. You also wake up from the waking. Now these modifications are mithya and not real is the theme of the shloka 41 and a few shlokas that follow. Meaning what? What is mithya? What is the definition of mithya? What is illusory? That which?
In its own absence.
Yes. And also that which comes and goes, which is temporary. That is mithya, illusory. Appears to be but actually is not there. Now think, is the deep sleep coming and going? Yes. Is the dream coming and going? Yes. Is the waking coming and going? Yes. All these three are illusory. So there is no cause for our misery. Think. Overdue importance, insisting that the waking plane is the most important. No. Sattva, Rajas, Tamas are like these three. They are functioning together. One is, all three are complementary to each other. We have to go beyond them. Waking is the expression of Sattva, dream is the expression of Rajas, deep sleep is the expression of Tamas. And where have these three come from? Potential. What is that potential? The mind. Do you know that these three are coming and going? Yes. So, if you know that these three are coming and going, you must be necessarily other than these three, isn't it? Logic. Find out. Be that. Don't find out. Be that. Recognize that never has been. You are imagining that you are a waker. You are imagining because you are identified with the world, so an imaginary entity has been created like that pot. Everything is mud, but you are calling it a pot. Everything is reality, but you are calling yourself a waker. Foolish fellow. देखो, इसके लिए courage चाहिए. It's not just like that. You need courage for this. You need to be absolutely, what do you call, clinical in your approach, but with faith that what the scriptures are telling, by doing this analysis, I'll just be even while the analysis is going on. Analysis is for the mind so that it stops. It's not for you. You because you are identified with the mind, you say, oh, I understood, I didn't understand. You become the waker. This analysis that all the scriptures are there not for you. It's to stop not to stop, but reduce the impact of the mind. Dissolve the mind. The scriptures, when they talk about this reality, that reality, Brahman, Paramatma, the substratum, the Kutastha, they are talking about you essentially. They are not talking about some third person. They are talking about the one here and now, the presence. Nestatvam bhasamanam cha निस्तत्वं भासमानं च व्यक्तम् उत्पत्तिनाशभाक् तद् उत्पत्तौ तस्य नाम Vacha nishpadyate nrubihi. Vacha nishpadyate nrubihi. This is the in 41st verse. The definition of illusion is given. What do they say? Although a manifest effect appearing to be manifested or become unmanifest has essentially no existence, after the effect manifests, it's called by some name by the people while referring to it. So, what is the first? The manifest potentiality, like the clay pot, is mithya because nistatvam, the pot, has the characteristics of name and form which are liable to change. There is no tattva in the vikara or modification. Meaning that there is no substance. The pot is nothing. Mud is everything. So what is illusion? Wave is nothing. Water is everything. So here in this example, mud is everything, but the pot is only a mere name in your mind. Second one, bhasamanam. It appears although it has no reality. Who appears? The pot appears but it has no reality. So first is nistatvam. The pot has got no essence. It is existing in its own absence. If you say, oh, mud is the essence of the pot. Mud, before the pot also mud was there, during the pot also mud is there, after the pot also mud is there. So what do you mean by essence of the pot? You are touching, feeling, tasting, everything, mud only. You are not tasting, feeling, touching mud, pot. You are tasting the mud. So what is the essence of the pot? Nothing. It is existing in its own absence. Bhasamanam, it appears but it has got no reality. And the last one, Utpatti Nashabhak. It is created in time, which itself is only a concept and is subject to dissolution. It's created in time. Whatever is created in time must die in time. Find out. Has time come and gone? Has time come and gone? Yeah, it has. Time as a principle, you have not gone, but the time is ticking away. We say time is ticking away. So that means 1 hour has gone, 2 hours has gone, 3 hours has gone. The time is going. It's moving. And we consider ourselves to be in the clutches of the time and we become miserable. But really speaking, you are the knower. You are the substratum. You know time is ticking away. See? This is a completely different standpoint that we have to take. So all this, because what is in the manifest and for the unmanifest to manifest, what are the conditioning? Time, space and objectivity. These are the three conditionings for any object to appear. It will be born in time, it will exist in the space, and it will have a certain name and form. And it will not be permanent, it will go away after some time. It is only existing limitedly. Oh, but on the earth, the air and fire and water, and it's been millions of years. But what before the earth came into existence? Okay, we can understand that, but the space has always been there. Space has always been there. People can say that. Have you experienced? Space has always been there. How can space?
Not there in deep sleep.
Exactly. You are not aware of any damn thing in the deep sleep. Thank you. After getting up, we say, and objectivity. These are the conditionings of through which the unmanifest becomes the manifest. Understand? The unmanifest becomes the manifest through these three conditionings. These three things put together make the effect of Maya or the potentiality an illusion. These three things put together. Maya is unmanifest. What is the first expression of Maya? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, isn't it? And then it keeps multiplying. Reality expressing through the total Sattva is Vishnu. We are talking it's not the topic here, is the Vishnu. Ishvara, or the reality expressing through the total Rajas, the first expression of Rajas, is Brahmaji, and through the total Tamas is Shivaji. See? When the pot is born, that is when the mud is converted into a pot, people call it a pot. The name is born after the effect is created. Merely for the sake of identification and differentiation, a name is given for a manifestation of potentiality which is only an appearance and which is created and destroyed in time. Thus, these modifications of the potentiality have no real meaning. Someone says, Renuka, and then 10 Renukas come in this room. What is your name? Renuka. What is your name? Renuka. What is your name? Renuka. What is your Renuka? How do you distinguish with each one? Everyone's name is Renuka. Then I'll find a way. Someone's face is long, someone's nose is flat, someone's eyes are lotus, someone's the nails are too long. Or another way, postman doesn't see everyone. The name address is fixed. Or the surname is added, isn't it? Something has to be put to identify. All chairs are chairs. Then you call, this is leather chair, that is 3-leg chair, this is 2-leg chair. Can you have 2-leg chair? Find out. Space is everywhere, but to identify, this is satsang space, that is kitchen space, that is bedroom space. You see? Name is given, but everything is space only. So these modifications of the potentiality have no real meaning. Space becoming house space has got no meaning. You are not looking at space, you are looking at the walls. That's why you are giving it a different name. Your attention is not on the infinity of space, your attention is on the conditioning. And anything that is conditioned is existing in its own absence. Continuing the same thought, Vyakte nashte namai tata, Vyakte nashte namai tata, Nruvakreshvanu vartate, Nruvakreshvanu vartate, Tena namna nirupyatvad, Tena namna nirupyatvad, Vyaktam tad rupamuchyate, Vyaktam tad rupamuchyate. When the effect dies away, the name referring to it continues to be mentioned by people. The effect after being referred to by name is existing only in name. See, first rule is the cause vanishes after expressing as effect. The seed vanishes after expressing as shoot and root. The flower vanishes after the fruit expresses, isn't it? The fruit vanishes when the seed expresses. The seed vanishes when the tree expresses. It's a cycle. Teenage vanishes when the youth expresses. Youth vanishes when the middle age expresses. Middle age vanishes when the old age expresses. Year 1 vanishes when year 2 expresses. Year 2 vanishes when year 3 expresses. Waking vanishes when the dream expresses. Dream vanishes when the deep sleep expresses. Deep sleep vanishes when the waking expresses. This is the cycle. This is the cycle. So they are existing only in name. We call our grandparents by name. Where are they? Only in photographs. They are nowhere. No form is available. You cannot interact with them. You can interact with the photograph. You can interact with the imagination in your head, the picture in your head. That's all. And that is also temporary. That is also not permanent. Even when the effect, the pot is destroyed, the name pot assigned to the effect continues to be used. What do we become miserable about? To what we have got attached to. Oh, my Chinese Indian pot, it was from the 17th century, it was coming in our family as a heirloom. That person, that cat, when she was walking around, she pushed the baby and she broke. Oh my God. What are you miserable about? About an imagination. Who is miserable? Also an imagination. Wife is the imagination in the man's head. Husband is an imagination in the wife's head. And both, husband and wife, are miserable. Man and woman are not miserable. See? Therefore, that which is referred by the name is only for the sake of the name, it is not real. So stop calling names to people. That's why when Mahatmas, if you go to Vrindavan, Rishikesh, Varanasi, nobody calls you by name. Nobody wants to know your name also. Good Mahatmas. They just call Swami or Mahatma Ji, Oh Prabhu. They don't. That's why in our families also, if you take in tradition, they never used to call the husband and wife by name. The wife will call the husband Dev. Anything in Tamil? In the olden times?
Ayya, Amma.
No, that's father and mother.
Yeah.
But in some people I know in Melbourne also, the wife calls the husband Dev.
Hey.
Dev means, oh God. Then he also should call her Devi. So if she can make an attempt to see divinity in her husband, he should also at least make an attempt to see the divinity in the wife, isn't it?
In ISKCON they call Prabhu and Mataji.
Prabhu and Mataji. So, in the same way, all of us are in reality Sat Chit Ananda Rupa. The names given to us will continue even after we are no more, but they only create an illusion of immortality. The modification or effect is nothing other than a mere name. And what do we want to take away? What we want to leave behind? Our name. For what? See? We remember our ancestors only by name. We want to leave behind a name. Get out of this rat hole, man. Don't fool yourself. Don't fool yourself. All these names, Someone calls you appa, someone calls you brother, someone calls you auntie, someone calls you sister, someone calls you ajji. Do you? And someone calls you ajji, don't call me ajji. Someone calls you sister, call me younger sister. Don't call me elder sister. See? And we got reaction to all these things, to all these names. Because we are identified. Because we don't know that we are the substratum. We used to react. Someone used to call me by my old name, and I used to react, no, I'm a sannyasi, I'm a brahmachari, call me by my new name. And they will call me by the old name only. They still call me by the old name. And first few years, I was reacting. And after I said, why am I reacting? If I am the substratum, I is the substratum, all names are mine from that day. Suddenly it clicked. See, this will only happen if you are aware where your energy is or where your attention is unnecessarily going. So if you observe a pattern, I am reacting if someone calls me in a different way, I am reacting if someone tells me something, I react. So there are many idiosyncrasies, and you keep behaving in a particular default manner some places. But you have to catch it and dissolve it. And this is how I dissolve this one. Now you can call me anything. That does not matter. Does not matter. The thought is taken up for further emphasis how the name has nothing to do with the reality, meaning the name and form has got nothing to do with the reality. Nestatvatvad vinashitvad Nestatvatvad vinashitvad Vacharambhananamataha Vacharambhananamataha Vyaktasya natu tad rupam Vyaktasya natu tad rupam Satyam kinchit mrudhadivata Satyam kinchit mrudhadivata. The nature of the effect, that is pot, is never similar, even a bit, like that of the mud, nor is it real, being unsubstantial, perishable, and is merely a name based on words. So what is the meaning of the effect is described, and what is effect? Effect is non-existent appearance. Effect is non-existent appearance. So what is existing? If we just take the form is existing, but what is the name? The substratum is expressing. The mud is there. But what is name? It has got no root, no nothing. Just a figment of imagination. After the name of the effect was denied a status of reality, what about the form of the effect? That is the shape of the pot. The shape, the size have nothing in common with the qualities of the mud. Therefore, the form of the mud pot has no reality because nistatvat vinashitvat. Because nistatva, the form of the wave is appearing in its own absence. Water is the substratum. The gold is the substratum. The form of the ornament is existing in its own absence. Nistatvam. Bhasamanam. What is bhasamanam? That which is only appearing temporarily. So wave is appearing temporarily, ornament is appearing temporarily, the mud pot is appearing, the form is appearing temporarily. Therefore it is not the reality. And vacharambhana namataha. The form can be changed, modified, or destroyed. The status of the form of the mud pot has no reality. It is a mere name, a mere word. That's all there is to it. Nothing else. Now don't get lost only in the pot and the wave and the gold and the ornament and the wave and the pot. We are giving names to the people we come across. We are giving names to the object that we come across. We are giving names to the creation, to the world, isn't it? That is having the equal status of reality, which means no reality. Don't just get lost in these are examples to hone in the point. But every now and then, look at, world is a name given to the total. You don't even know what the total is, and you're just calling it world. See? In the same way, the manifest world has two aspects, name and form, which are superimposed on the substratum. Those whose attention is on the shape or form and name will suffer, but whose attention is on the substratum will not be perturbed. So, this is the way of the wise. They are ever contemplating and being the substratum, because they know if they get identified with any name and form, called husband, called child, called mother, called house, called car, it will only bring misery. Therefore, the conclusion is that the name and form are not the reality, but the reality is that which is supporting the presence and absence of the names and forms. And what is that reality which is supporting the presence and absence of the names and forms? You are that, the I. Be the I. Don't just keep seeking all life. Be the I. Everything in life that we have run after, we run after sleep, we merge, allow the sleep to devour us, isn't it? Then from the sleep we wake up. Initially we don't want to wake up, but then we allow the waking to, we lose total everything, what the sleep was giving us, the bliss which was not, we didn't want to come out of it. But then eventually the world catches you, you allow. In the dream also, the imagination grabs you and you forget who you are. This is going on. If this is so, what is the reality? Vyaktakale tata purvam, Vyaktakale tata purvam, urdhvamapyeka rupa bhak, pamad rupa bhak, urdhvamapyeka rupa bhak, urdhvamapyeka rupa bhak, satatvam avinasham cha, satatvam avinasham cha, satyam mrudvastu kathyate, satyam mrudvastu kathyate. The material mud is considered real because it is unchanging, substantial and indestructible at all times. That is before production of the pot, while it manifests as pot, and also after its destruction. See? Why mud is real? In that example, it is always. See? Water is always. with respect to the weight. But at a different relative sense, water also is not permanent. Earth is also not permanent. Fire is also not permanent. Air is also not permanent. Because if air was permanent, then man would not die of breathing. He will not die. Full stop. See? When the mud is converted into pot, or before the pot was created, or after the pot is broken into pieces, mud remains unchanged. It is always, mud is always the mud, whether it expresses as the pot, before the pot, during the pot, or after the pot. Mud is mud. Its essential qualities of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha, all the 5 qualities, they remain intact before the pot, during the pot, and after the pot. So, they do not change due to creation, after creation, and after destruction of the said creation. So, the qualities of the mud were that it can be, it exists, that it has a, it can be felt, it can be heard, it can be tasted, it can take form, it can, it can be seen, and it can be smelt. All these, whether mud manifests as some form or does not manifest as some form, whether that mud gets created into a form or that form gets destroyed, these 5 qualities are seen to be present in and through, whether the form is there or not there, whether the form is manifest or unmanifest. The mud does not get destroyed at any stage, only the name and form get destroyed. What is subjected to destruction is the form of the pot, a form that was born in time. The mud alone is the reality. There was no form before, then the form appeared, and afterwards there will be no form. This form, what you call yourself to be the body, it was not there before. Now it is there. After again it will not be there. So just if we can appreciate this example, we can see that the mud has never been absent in the 3 stages: unmanifest, manifest, unmanifest. Right? Unmanifest pot, then pot got created and then it got destroyed. The mud is the substratum. It has never gone through any loss of itself. It is always the same with the 5 qualities. Exactly the same way. If we can, see, this is so powerful, this thought. If we can move through life without losing who we are, we behave, the mind takes the role of mother, daughter, brother, sister, etc., etc., student, a teacher. Don't get lost in them because they are coming and going. Be the substratum. The unchanging principle. Recognize that all these roles are coming and going. The body is coming and going, the breath is coming and going, the emotions are coming and going, the concepts are coming and going, the thoughts are coming and going, the waking dream, deep sleep is coming and going, the people are coming and going, the experiences are coming and going, what you see, hear, touch, feel, taste is coming and going. It's never the same. Rather than get lost, oh, I have lost this, oh, I gained this. Instead, be the substratum, be the unchanging principle. So also, consciousness is the only reality. It exists even before one is born, through all the planes of consciousness, in good health or bad health, even in ignorance, when this knowledge becomes consequential in one's life, then one's attention is fixed only on the Mrudavastu, this essential nature of ours, this Satyam. And we have this enough practice of this. When we are if you look at your life at this moment, everything that you do in this life, the seat that you select, the clothes that you wear, the bed that you have, the food that you eat, the relationships that you look forward to having with people, all this is because in the back of your mind, I am the body thought is there. So we have taken ourselves to be the body. That we have taken as the substratum. And that is why we are lost in all these things. Here the teacher is saying, you already have the practice. Now change the theme. Instead of body, be the infinite self, the pure consciousness. Scriptures cannot convince you. Teacher cannot convince you. You have to come to realize. You have to come to realize. All these are just the pointers, but they are not pointing at this name or that form. No, they are pointing at you, the substratum. Every verse is taking us back to the substratum. So what happens? In some other Shastra, when you come to the Anahat Chakra, the heart chakra, there you come to know that distinction between consciousness and matter. It's unavoidable once you come to that point, or through contemplation also. It's unavoidable. Just like I am seeing you that you two are not one, you are separate to each other, exactly the same way you come to know that the consciousness and matter can never be one. The unholy union of these two is called the body, the individual. Yes, for all purposes at the totality level, Shiva, Shakti, Krishna, Radha. But you ask Krishna, he says, I alone am, everything is in me. He doesn't say that Maya, that potentiality is also his alone. Otherwise there will be competition between Shakti and the wielder of the Shakti. Once this consciousness and matter become clear to you once only, then it's like autopilot. The journey begins. Whether you like it or not, you may get distracted here and there during the life, through your life. But that point, that awareness, that consciousness can never be matter. Once only you have to experience. It will pull you back. You cannot avoid it. But because of your over involvement in the world, you keep going back, but it keeps pulling you back. So mind wants to go there, but a subconscious, somewhere deep inside the mind, it knows. And this tussle is the spiritual frustration that people experience. See? Now a doubt is raised. The effect, the pot is not Satyam. The snake on the rope is also not Satyam. Satyam means the truth. Nor is the silver on the oyster shell. When we come to understand the true nature of the rope and the shell, the snake and the silver disappear. Likewise, when one perceives the mud in the pot should disappear. If the world is understood to be mithya, the world should disappear. How beautiful! When we come to know the rope, the snake disappears. When we come to know the shell, the silver disappears. When we come to know the, what do you call? These are the two examples taken. Then when we come to know the mud, the pot must disappear. It doesn't happen. When we come to know the self, the world does not disappear. What does it mean? Is there a possibility of the world to catch you again and get you deluded? Yes, it is there. So once you come to know the substratum, then what happens? The world still continues. For whom? For others. What about you? It may happen straight away, it may happen slowly. That's up to your journey. See? But you remain undisturbed on account of anything in this world. Are you, tell me, when you are thinking about sleep, are you disturbed by what is going on in the world? You're thinking about the sleep. All the immediate things that you need to do, the wars going on, the famine going on, the floods going on, the earthquakes, the tornadoes, the people dying of hunger and disease in various parts of the world. When you look at the TV, you become miserable. You know all that data is there in your head, but when you're going to sleep, does all that disturb you? It gets dropped, isn't it? It gets dropped. And when you are in sleep, it is like asking, when I am in sleep, the world is still there. For whom? Not for you. We are talking about you. We are not talking about in general. Spirituality is not a general approach. It is an individual approach. So what if the individual itself is not there? Will he have experience of the world? See? So that topic we will see in our next class, because that's a new topic, and then some examples about it are taken. Enough, no? Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Just sit quietly for a minute.